that Gandhiji advocated and endorsed are age-old axiomatic truths of life. In fact, Gandhi's advocacy of truth and non-violence is something that made him a global brand. In fact, India can boast of two global brands. One was Gautam Buddha, and the second is Mahatma Gandhi, though many may today like to disagree. But Gandhi was, of course, the global brand of the present times. And that is one reason why, when in the year 2000, a search was on by editors of several media houses and newspapers globally to identify the man of the millennium, the maximum number of people, they voted for Gandhi. So naturally, it was not without reason. And in fact, Gandhiji has other basic philosophical ideas also, which remain eternal. For instance, his focus on cleanliness. He said that cleanliness is godliness. And in fact, as early as 1919, he had written in Navjivan, and then later on again, 5-6 years later, he wrote about the importance of cleanliness and how he was impressed by the European ways of living. And he was a great admirer of the European ways of cleanliness. Their toilets, of course, he very specifically mentioned about their toilets. So that was Gandhi. Then there are several other issues which even today are very important. He talked about Swadeshi. In fact, his idea about the boycott of Swadeshi, the foreign-made goods, was something that was like a googly to the Britishers. So that was Gandhi's basic approach to fight the oppressive British regime. Then what we teach today in management schools, his idea of that was as early as 100 years ago, trusteeship. We today teach about corporate social responsibility in management schools, and it's a very well orchestrated, what we call subject today. People are very prominently displaying the role of CSR in inclusive growth and things like that. Gandhiji advocated this idea in other terms. He talked about the rich being the trustees of the poor. So his trusteeship idea, that is as important as what today we are talking about. And it was as important then also for Gandhiji's scheme of things. Then his focus on one more thing. He focused on importance of means. And he talked about the basic idea that means and ends are interchangeable. Today, when we talk about ends, we don't bother about means. So, in fact, they are very fond of quoting Machiavelli, but Gandhi was against this. He said that no, means are equally important. Right ends cannot be achieved by wrong means. And that was one reason why he withdrew that non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement after that Chauri Chaura incident. So Gandhi, of course, advocated a philosophy that is eternal, and that is not going to become irrelevant at any point of time. And the second reason why Gandhi, now I'm talking about Gandhi, I was talking about his philosophy. The second reason why Gandhi is relevant today is because never before we felt the need of Gandhi as we are feeling today, 21st century. Congress today is at crossroads, and somewhat a similar predicament that it was facing when Gandhi first came to India and he revived Congress. So the Congress party today needs somebody like Gandhi. It's not about surname. It's about a personality. It's about a person's philosophy. It's about a person's approach. It's about understanding a person's concept of India, the idea of India. So that is what Gandhi understood. That is why he traveled all across the country in the then third class, because he wanted to get a feel of the people. So it was Gandhi who brought Congress to the masses. So naturally, Gandhi ji was one person who, in fact, reinvented the Congress. And today is a situation where we need the Congress to be reinvented. And someone like Gandhi has to do that job. Because Congress is one party that qualifies to be the pan-India opposition of the ruling party. And in any democracy, it's the opposition which is very important. So naturally, without opposition, democracies transform into dictatorships. We saw in the past. So Gandhi, that reason also is very relevant today. And most importantly, the Gandhi's philosophy talked about 7 cardinal sins, which are very, very significant in today's world, today's commerce-driven world. He talked about those 7 cardinal sins. He talked about wealth without pleasure. Look what is happening. Wealth without pleasure. The entire society is facing that problem. We are in a commerce-driven society. Everyone wants wealth. I'll try to narrate an anecdote which may give some insight into what Gandhi meant by this. Wealth without pleasure. Wealth without work. I'm sorry. Wealth without work. That is what Gandhi advocated. So his idea of wealth, his idea of profit was something different. There was no room for what we call unbridled profit in Gandhi's scheme of things. There's a very interesting anecdote from his life. It dates somewhere around the same time when India got freedom, around, I think, later part of the year 1947. So there was a gentleman, a businessman called K.T. Shah. He had, of course, contributed a lot to the Indian national movement. So K.T. Shah proposed that he will start a school in Wardha. And he wanted Gandhiji to inaugurate that school. Gandhiji was reluctant. He said that I am a lawyer and then a politician by trainer. I have no business to suggest what kind of a education should be imparted in a school. But K.T. Shah insisted. And finally, the day came when Gandhiji was there in Wardha to inaugurate the school. So they requested Gandhiji to tell the teachers and the students what kind of education has to be imparted. And Gandhiji said that according to me, the education that has to be imparted should be such that if I ask a child that I bought an apple for 4 annas, 25 paise, 4 annas those days, and I sold it for 1 rupee, what should I get? And if the answer to this is that you will get jail, that is the kind of education that I want. So that was Gandhi's idea of business. That was Gandhi's idea of wealth. That was Gandhi's idea of profit. Today, what we are seeing, what happened in Corona times, people were dying and hospitals, these corporate hospitals, these medicines, remdesivir and all, a 3,000 vial was being sold at 50,000. So that was his idea of wealth. So wealth without work. He also talked about pleasure without conscience. Is the root cause of all trouble these days. Pleasure without conscience. He was a great votary of conscience. And he always said that I always listen to conscience, whatever my conscience says. So pleasure without conscience. Then the third cardinal sin which Gandhi suggested was knowledge without character. Knowledge without character. Again, the same problem. Whatever is wrong today in the world is the same reason for knowledge without character. Commerce without morality. The fourth sin, commerce without morality. That is what Gandhi insisted on. Worship without sacrifice. Worship without sacrifice. And he also said, politics without principles. Look where we have reached. So, according to Gandhi, these were the 7 cardinal sins which created problems for the world. And we are seeing that these cardinal sins are creating problems today. Gandhi was a great advocate of respecting the poor. He talked about the concept of Daridra Narayan. And he gave a very beautiful talisman. He said that whenever you are in doubt, I'll give you a talisman, tabiz. Look at the face of the poorest of the poor man and think what good your actions are going to do to him. And you will never have a problem. That is missing today. He talked about self-reliance. He talked about rural upliftment, Gramoday, Sarvodaya, Antyodaya. So Gandhiji, of course, his philosophy lives on and it will live on. Gandhiji cannot be, ignored even if people want it. Gandhi will remain in the hearts of the people. That was one reason why this Albert Einstein said that in future the generations to come will find it difficult to believe that there was someone like Gandhi who lived in this world. And I think there are some people who are trying to prove this true by all sorts of tricks and misinformation and disinformation. So I think Gandhi cannot be irrelevant and his philosophy cannot be irrelevant. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, for giving your clear views that Gandhi's philosophy can never be irrelevant, and he has given all the details how the Gandhi's philosophy, about the Gandhi, as well as the sins which Gandhi has, 7 sins, and which we are seeing every day in the life today. Everyone is doing those sins, and still we feel that we are far more moralistic than Gandhiji. And he also mentioned about Einstein, and he said that people will, in times to come, and the people will not believe that the person like Gandhi was in existence. So, so according to Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, Gandhiji's philosophy has to be there, will be there, and will always remain there. It cannot be erased, although few of the people are trying their best to erase it, but it is not possible to erase. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, for giving your views. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Advocate Shashank Dev Sudhi. Advocate Shashank Dev Sudhi is practicing in Supreme Court, New Delhi, and various high courts of the country for over 20 years. He has been appearing in the courts for public causes besides commercial litigations across the country. He appeared in more than 50 public interest litigations, which includes health issues, education, environment, aviation issues, etc. He has also raised the issue of free testing of COVID-19 to all citizens in the private as well as government labs across the country as petitioner. He has also raised the issue of regulation of airfares by way of PIL in Delhi High Court. He has also raised the issue of Shaheen Bagh protest in Honorable Supreme Court on the ground the fundamental rights of common citizens should not be violated, and several other issues which are in the public domain. His life is dedicated to millions of masses who are in need of the justice. Welcome, Advocate Shashank Dev Sudhi, on our show. Advocate Shashank Dev Sudhi, you have heard what Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak has mentioned, and he is very, very clear in his thoughts that Gandhi's philosophy cannot be irrelevant at any time in futures to come, not even at present. And he also said that few wants to erase it, but they will never succeed to erase the philosophy of Gandhi. Now, we would like to know from you your views. Is Gandhi philosophy relevant today? Advocate Shashank Dev Sudhi, please. Please unmute. Please unmute. Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Goel. Good morning, co-panelist, and good morning to all the viewers who are watching today. Mr. Goel, you have taken a topic of today. It is undoubtedly a very important topic in the days of violence, in the days of systematic terrorism, in the days where nationalism is on the rise, in the days where all types of misrepresentation, all types of false informations are being disseminated without impunity. And the people are not understanding the philosophy of Gandhi and the philosophy of other great saints. And I rate Gandhi as a person who had devolved the democracy in our country. He is the person who, apart from being a social reformer, was a astute politician. It was he who made Indian national movement truly a mass movement. He knew the grandeur of a common man. He deliberately took the issues which affect the common man, like salt issue during the civil disobedience movement, and his strategy of non-violence struggle attracted the people from every sector of life, including women, old age, as well. In the violent struggle that section could not have confronted to the freedom struggle. So, apart from politics, he was a social reformer. His ideology cannot die because his ideology is quite relevant and it is quite core to the common philosophy of the common man. And that is the reason the Gandhi had advocated Satya. The first ingredients of his philosophy is Satya. He practiced Satya. He practiced the truth. That the truth is the core of every act, because by virtue of truth, one can win any kind of battle, and the power of a man is more important than the power of weapon. He advocated that. He advocated ahimsa, non-violence, the concept of non-violence. That non-violence is the only weapon through which any authoritarian, totalitarian, and dictatorial rule can be defeated. So he had proved that all types of violence should not be resorted, because violence is antithetical and against the human core values. Gandhi's philosophy is dedicated towards the essentials of humanity. So, truth and ahimsa, and again satyagraha is also the another ingredients which Gandhi had relentlessly advocate to the common people, that by satyagraha, like Buddha, Mahavira, a person renouncing his their riches, went into wilderness and preached peace, truth, and all. So satyagraha is another most important ingredient today. How Gandhi had embraced the idea of satyagraha and advocated satyagraha to the common people, that satyagraha is one of the potent force through which a person can pursue their goal. And fourth principle which he advocated is sarvodaya. I mean, everyone should be uplifted to the level of development. Every person must be uplifted and catapulted to the minimum livelihood, to the minimum survival. So he had also advocated sarvodaya across the country, and this was a movement. Everyone knows what it has been translated into. And after sarvodaya, he had also advocated swaraj, a rule by common people. And more or less what he advocated today, it is there, but it is existing in a different form, in a very distorted form. The people, the majoritarian system has taken place, but Gandhi philosophy was totally different. Gandhi philosophy was that the country must be ruled by the local people, by the people who can rule it effectively by practicing truth. But today the situation is different. He had advocated the sixth ingredient is the trust thing. It is the economic philosophy that he propounded. He propounded that the power, the economic power, should lie in the hands of the common people rather than the capitalist. So he also advocated the trust tip. And the seventh, which is very important, that he advocated the Swadeshi. He put importance on the local made goods, and for which he led several movements, and he had discarded the foreign made goods. So these are the most important and cardinal ingredients of Gandhian philosophy, which are still relevant. None of the ingredients has become irrelevant. So the philosophy of Gandhi is not only important but also relevant. And what is important, that Gandhi believed in simple living and high thinking. And this itself is suggestive of the fact the thoughts of individual have a great role in shaping his life. And this is why Gandhism appears to be simple to everyone, and a real sense practicing in day-to-day life is difficult. For instance, remaining truthful, tolerant, non-violent, respecting others in difficult circumstances required a great degree of commitment. The truth and core values of Gandhian philosophy has given a special importance by Gandhiji, as he himself tried to remain truthful throughout of his life. The autobiography, Great Son, My Experiment with the Truth, testimonies the love of Gandhi's for the truth. He never deviated the truth. And Gandhi was killed by a nationalist because Gandhi had never advocated to be surrounded by security forces. He wanted to lead a common life. And that is the reason why the Gandhi philosophy is very important, because now every people wanted to lead a lavish life. Every people wanted to get maximum money. Every people wanted a very imposed life. And Gandhi hated, Gandhi denounced all kind of exaggeration. Gandhi stressed on the core philosophy that simplicity is the only way through which the person can reach the pinnacle and the summit of accomplishment. So Gandhi philosophy was no doubt very relevant. He had created new paradigm of leadership in our country, and not only in our country, across the world. Every world is following the principle of Gandhi, and that was the importance of Gandhian philosophy. That not only India, across the world, the people are adopting the core values of Gandhi, and they are constructing the Gandhi statue also. They are opening a Gandhian department, the Gandhi philosophy department also. So look the extent of influence the Gandhi had exerted on the people across the country, that the universities of the world are opening a department, Gandhian philosophy. So as a person, I can imagine what Gandhi was. I can denounce Gandhi. Other people can denounce the Gandhi. But you see the kind of respect they have got, not only in this country, but also across the world, because we are recognized by the name of Gandhi. What else relevance one can attach to the Gandhian philosophy? We are coming from Gandhi's land. So that is how Gandhi exerted the influence on the common people. And still, I mean, whether you are right or left party, everyone is garlanding Gandhi, right? Whether it is a compulsion or it is a political, ploy, but they are. So Gandhi is inseparable. Gandhi is inalienable. Gandhi has to stay. His philosophy has to stay. His philosophy is not going to die. Gandhi means democracy, and democracy means Gandhi. Every aspects and every level of Gandhi are quite attached to the lives of the common people of this country, because Gandhi had represented what India represented. Gandhi is a encyclopedic in every essentials of humanity. He demonstrated the essential truth. He demonstrated essential philosophy, that these philosophies are the life. The common people can live a life by following these kind of ingredients, and Gandhi represented everything which are important, which are relevant. So, Mr. Lal, I would like to tell to you that there are so many things which have been stated by Gandhi, but one thing which I must say to you, that Gandhi philosophy cannot die. No amount of pressure, force can destroy and annihilate the philosophy of Gandhi from the soil of India, because it was rooted in our blood, because we are born with the philosophy of Gandhi, and the philosophy is of Gandhi is thicker than blood, if I am not wrong to say, because everywhere, I mean, irrespective what you say, what political party you belong, but you cannot ignore Gandhi. Gandhi cannot be ignored. Gandhi is there to stay as long as India will be there. So it is not only this country, across the world, everyone had hailed the Gandhi approach, and the Gandhi philosophy are universal truth. And it is as truthful as the sun rises in the east. This is my small point of view, and I believe that it is summing up the entire thoughts of the Gandhi, how Gandhi is relevant today. Gandhi is relevant, will be relevant, and his philosophy will be future perfect.
Thank you very much, Advocate Shashank Dev Sudhi, for giving your very, very strong views about relevance of Gandhi philosophy in today's time. And Advocate Shashank very rightly said that Gandhi is not respected only in India, but he's respected across the world. I visited many few of the universities and many places, and then found the statue of Gandhi in those universities. They were not being forced by any of the political party to put there. They were done by the university themselves, because they recognize Gandhi. And we all know how the Martin Luther King, how Nelson Mandela, and many all top leaders who fought for their own countries' freedom movement followed Gandhiji and won the battle. So these things are so his philosophy, if whatsoever we deny, as the Advocate Shashank says, whatsoever anybody wants to do, they cannot play, they will never succeed. And Gandhiji, even he used the word, he says a sentence that Gandhi is thicker than a blood, and Gandhi is like a democracy. He actually represents the democracy, because his views are very, very clear and based on truth and non-violence. Thank you very much, Advocate Shashank Dev Sudhi, for giving your views. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Mr. Nirmalendu Verma. Mr. Verma is a renowned social activist. He is a spokesperson of Bihar Pradesh Congress Committee. He is observer of West Champaran. He is member of campaign committee of BPCEC. He is the former member of National Working Committee Swaraj Abhiyan and Swaraj India Party. He is president of Jai Prabha Aspatal Bachao Sangharsh Morcha. He is chairman of Khadi Vishwa, a Khadi Gramodyog institution. Welcome, Mr. Nirmalendu Verma, on our show. Mr. Verma, you have heard Professor Dr. Pathak as well as Advocate Shashank Dev Sudhi. Both have given their very, very clear views and very strong views that this, to say that Gandhiji's philosophy is not relevant is not at all correct. Gandhiji's philosophy not only relevant today, but in future, it will always be relevant. Now, you are very closely associated with the Khadi Gramodyog institution. Also, you are associated with the Swaraj Abhiyan also, and quite vocal about your own thoughts. We would like to know your views on Gandhi is Gandhi philosophy relevant today? Mr. Nirmalendu Verma, please. Please unmute. Mr. Verma, please unmute. Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Lal Goel Saab. Thank you, Professor Pathak. Thank you, Advocate Sasank. They have delivered such a lovely thought, such a lovely views about Gandhiji that I was willing to continue to listen them for few more hours. But okay, you have given me chance, so I would definitely like to put some words. Before I say something, I would like to get your permission to speak in Hindi or in English.
No, Hindi. You can. Yeah.
Viewers are there, and what I think that our views must reach to the mass.
Yes, please. You can speak in Hindi. आप हिंदी में बोल सकते हैं.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. गांधी जी, मैं कुछ बोलूं उनके बारे में, इसके पहले मैं अपनी श्रद्धांजलि उनके प्रति समर्पित करना चाहता हूं। और आपने ये मीडिया कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑर्गेनाइज किया है, इसके लिए मैं हृदय से आपको धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं। गांधी जी की फिलॉसफी आज के डेट में रिलेवेंट है या नहीं, इस पर आपने ये मीडिया कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑर्गेनाइज किया है। मुझे लगता है कि देश अपने ऐतिहासिक दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण दौर से गुजर रहा है, जिसमें भारत में यह सवाल आ रहा है कि गांधी की फिलॉसफी रिलेवेंट है या नहीं। और वैसे भी आज बड़ा ऐतिहासिक दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण दिन है, जिस दिन गांधी जी का असैसिनेशन हुआ था, ये हत्या की गई थी। और आज हम लोग इस बात पर चर्चा कर रहे हैं, भारत में चर्चा कर रहे हैं, जिस महात्मा को पूरा विश्व मानता है, उस महात्मा के थॉट पे हम ये बात कर रहे हैं कि उनकी फिलॉसफी रिलेवेंट है या नहीं। इसका मतलब कि निश्चित रूप से आज का दिन भी ऐतिहासिक दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण दिन है भारत के लिए। बट फिर भी आप जैसे कुछ लोग देश में हैं जो इस चीज को मजबूती से रखने में कामयाब है। प्रोफेसर पाठक ने रखा, एडवोकेट शशांक ने रखा कि गांधी जी की जो फिलॉसफी है वो रिलेवेंट थी या नहीं। गांधी जी की फिलॉसफी तो इररिलेवेंट हो ही नहीं सकती है। जिस गांधी के फॉलोअर पूरे वर्ल्ड में हैं, उनके पद चिन्हों पे पूरे वर्ल्ड में लोग चलते हैं। नेल्सन मंडेला साहब ने इतना लंबा आंदोलन किया उन्हीं के फिलॉसफी के ऊपर। किंग मार्टिन लूथर ने इतना बड़ा सिविल डिसोबीडियंस को मान के आंदोलन किया, सब कुछ किया। और आज अपने देश में, हिंदुस्तान में, गांधी की धरती पे हम गांधी की थ्योरी को, गांधी के फिलॉसफी को चैलेंज कर रहे हैं। बहुत शर्मनाक है। मैं कह रहा हूं कि गांधी ने जो कहा, गांधी कोई, I would like to render my unconditional apology also, because I am going to speak something maybe not suitable to someone. गांधी जो दिखाई पड़ते थे एक धोती कुर्ता में महात्मा, वो सिर्फ वो महात्मा नहीं थे। गांधी एक लर्नेड पर्सनैलिटी थे, एक लर्नेड एडवोकेट थे गांधी। और उन्होंने जो भी किया वो सोच समझ के किया। गांधी के पहले जो स्वतंत्रता के लिए आंदोलन हुए देश में, वो सच में स्वतंत्रता के लिए नहीं हुए थे, वो अपने अपने एग्जिस्टेंस के लिए हुए थे। वो वीरांगनाएं थी, वो वीर थे। महारानी लक्ष्मीबाई को नहीं भूला जा सकता है। लेकिन उनकी सत्ता बची रहे, इसके लिए वो लड़ाई हुई थी। और जब उस समय मासेस ने इसमें पार्टिसिपेट नहीं किया था, वो लोकल किंग्स एंड जमींदार्स के अपने एग्जिस्टेंस की लड़ाई थी। और जब वो और उनके सिपाही लड़ रहे थे तो अंग्रेजों ने उनका दमन कर दिया था। गांधी जी को यह पता था। जब गांधी जी इंडिया आए तो गांधी जी ने स्टार्ट ही किया कंसेप्ट ऑफ इंडिया से। ये कंसेप्ट ऑफ इंडिया का पहला थॉट ही गांधी जी का था, क्योंकि उसके पहले हम गुजरात थे, अलग अलग, हम साउथ थे, हम पंजाब थे, हम नॉर्थ थे, सारे अलग अलग बटे हुए थे। और गांधी जी चूंकि फिलोसफर थे, उन्होंने देखा कि जब तक भारत को इकट्ठा नहीं किया जा सकता है, मासेस को जगाया नहीं जा सकता है, तब तक हम अंग्रेजों से लड़ाई नहीं लड़ सकते हैं। आज गांधी जी के बारे में तरह तरह की बातें हो रही है, जैसे गांधी जी कोई कमजोर थे, उनके बदले किसी को लाके खड़ा कर दिया जा रहा है, किसी को लाके खड़ा कर दिया जा रहा है। दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण बात यह है कि जिनको लाके खड़ा किया जा रहा है वो सब उनके समर्थक थे, सब उनके फॉलोअर थे। कभी भी नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस ने गांधी जी के खिलाफ कोई बात नहीं कही। जहां दो विद्वान होते हैं वहां डिबेट होता है, मत भिन्नता हो सकती है, मन भिन्नता नहीं थी। पटेल साहब से बड़े फॉलोअर और कौन होंगे उनके? उनको उनके खिलाफ खड़ा किया करने की कोशिश की जा रही है, तो ये तो संभव ही नहीं है। तो गांधी जी ने स्टार्ट किया कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ इंडिया से, और उन्होंने देखा कि जो ब्रिटिश एम्पायर है, जिनके राज्य में सूरज नहीं डूबते हैं, उनको हम इलीगल तरीके से विन ओवर नहीं कर सकते, उनसे लड़ाई हम नहीं लड़ सकते हैं। वो बुद्धिमान थे, लर्नेड थे, एडवोकेट थे, इंटेलिजेंट थे। उन्होंने कहा कि सबसे पहले हिंदुस्तान को जगाओ, और उसके लिए उन्होंने अहिंसात्मक रास्ता अपनाया। उन्होंने कई आंदोलन किए और वापस लिए। उसके पीछे भी फिलॉसफी थी, क्योंकि उनका उस आंदोलन को सक्सेसफुल करना उनका पर्पस नहीं था, हिंदुस्तान की आजादी उनका पर्पस था, वो मिशन था उनका, और वो उसमें कामयाब होना चाहते थे और अल्टीमेटली कामयाब हुए। दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण बात यह है कि आज गांधी जी को शहीद आजम भगत सिंह के फांसी के लिए जिम्मेदार ठहराने की कोशिश की जा रही है देश में। ये तरह तरह की बातें हो रही है कि गांधी जी हर चीज के लिए दोषी थी। क्या गांधी जी ही दोषी थे? गांधी जी बिल्कुल दोषी नहीं थे। क्या ऐसा सोच हम लोगों के बीच फैला करके अपने शहीद आजम का अपमान नहीं कर रहे हैं? शहीद आजम तो खुद चाहते थे कि हम फांसी पे लटकें और देश हमारा जगे। क्या अगर भगत सिंह नहीं चाहते तो उनको कोई फांसी दे देता? बिल्कुल नहीं दे सकता था। भगत सिंह खुद ही चाहते थे, और भगत सिंह ने लास्ट में अपनी डायरी में लिखा है कि अगर कोई बड़ा मूवमेंट करना है, आजादी लेनी है, तो वायलेंस करके नहीं ले सकते हैं। क्योंकि वायलेंस में आपने देखा होगा कि चाहे आप शहीद आजम भगत सिंह की बात करें, चाहे खुदीराम बोस की बात करें, चाहे रास बिहारी बोस की बात करें, जितने आजादी के दीवाने थे, चाहे चंद्रशेखर आजाद की बात करें या अल्टीमेटली नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस की बात करें, सही मामले में अंग्रेजों ने सबको निपटा दिया था। इससे ज्यादा दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण और क्या बात होगा कि हमने अपने इतने दीवाने खोए। उसमें एक आदमी तो था जो अहिंसा के रास्ते पे देश को आजादी दिला सकने की क्षमता रखता था। और गांधी जी, माफ कीजिएगा, मैं जब राम की बात होगी तो रावण की बात होगी ही होगी। जब गांधी जी कोई चाय नहीं बेचते थे, गांधी जी को कोई पॉपुलैरिटी नहीं चाहिए थी, गांधी जी फुल्ली लोडेड थे, इंटरनेशनल लेवल के लॉयर थे। वो प्रैक्टिस के दौरान ही साउथ अफ्रीका गए थे और वहां की स्थिति देख के वहां उन्होंने आंदोलन शुरू किया और सक्सेस मिला उनको, और उस चीज को वो इंडिया में ला करके इंप्लीमेंट करना चाहते थे। और सब चीज छोड़ करके गांधी एक महात्मा के रूप में सब लोगों को इकट्ठा करके, सारे देश का एकीकरण करके, कश्मीर से कन्याकुमारी तक लोगों को जगा करके और उन्होंने आगे बढ़ाया। उस गांधी के प्रिंसिपल्स को, उस गांधी के फिलॉसफी को आज हम चैलेंज करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, घृणा से चैलेंज करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, हेट्रेड से चैलेंज करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, झूठ से चैलेंज करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, तो गांधी जी को चैलेंज नहीं किया जा सकता है। गांधी जी तब भी उस समय उनकी प्रासंगिकता थी, उनके समय में, उनके बाद भी रही है, आज भी है और कल भी रहेगी। जब हम लोग विदेश जाते हैं, कई लोगों ने मुझे कहा कि ओ यू आर फ्रॉम द लैंड ऑफ गांधी, तो इस सम्मान की दृष्टि से हम लोगों को देखा जाता है। और अपने देश में हम लोग गांधी की आलोचना करने में शर्म नहीं करते हैं। गांधी फिलॉसफर थे और गांधी ने लोगों को बताया कि अब इस देश में ब्रिटिश एम्पायर के खिलाफ लड़ाई कैसे लड़ी जा सकती है, क्योंकि उनको पता था कि अनलॉफुल तरीके से हम ब्रिटिश से नहीं जीत सकते हैं, और उस लॉफुल तरीका उन्होंने अपनाया, चाहे वो सिविल डिसओबीडियंस हो, चाहे कुछ भी हो। लास्ट में गांधी पर यह आरोप जरूर लगता है कि बाद में गांधी भी वायलेंट हो गए थे। गांधी वायलेंट नहीं हुए थे, उन्होंने डू और डाई की बात कही थी, लेकिन तब तक उनको पता था कि पूरा देश जग गया है, और उसी देश को जगाने के लिए शहीद आजम ने अपनी बलिदान दी थी। गांधी जी को पता चल गया था कि देश जग चुका है, और अब अगर हम ये लास्ट पंच देंगे तो अंग्रेजों पर उसका असर होगा। लेकिन बिल्कुल लॉफुल तरीके से अगर कोई विदेशी कपड़ा जलाता है, उसमें कोई ऐसा कानून नहीं था, क्योंकि हर आदमी उसमें कंट्रीब्यूट कर पा रहा था। लेकिन अगर लाठी गोली से हम करते तो आदमी अपना परिवार छोड़ करके उसमें नहीं जा पाता, जिस चीज की जानकारी गांधी जी को थी, और गांधी जी ने उस मुहिम को आगे बढ़ाया। हमने क्या कर लिया जलियांवाला बाग में, दिन के उजाले में लोगों को गोलियों से भून दिया अंग्रेजों ने, जनरल डायर निकल गए यहां से। वो तो एक उधम सिंह जैसे दीवाने थे जो उन्होंने अपना बदला ले लिया, लेकिन आजादी तो नहीं मिली ना। हमें चाहिए थी आजादी, और वो आजादी गांधी ने ही दिलाई, अपने शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से, अपने विवेकपूर्ण तरीके से। और जब गांधी की बात करते हैं हम, तो गांधी ने एक तरफ लोगों को इकट्ठा किया, दूसरे तरफ अंग्रेजों की जो नीति थी, जिसके कारण सोने की चिड़िया बिल्कुल ही स्टारवेशन के कगार पे पहुंच चुकी थी, गांधी ने दूसरी तरफ लोगों को सेल्फ डिपेंडेंट बनाने के लिए खादी की शुरुआत करी। और मैं बता दूं कि एक खादी और ग्रामोद्योग ही है जो क्लू है, जो राज है भारत को सोने की चिड़िया बनाने का। गांधी ने उस चीज को समझा था कि हम सोने की चिड़िया थे कैसे। उस समय आईसीआईसीआई लोम्बार्ड नहीं हुआ करता था, उस समय रिलायंस भी नहीं था, उस समय स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया भी नहीं था, उस समय खादी और ग्रामोद्योग था। हम फाइनेस्ट कॉटन बनाते थे जिसको मसलिन कहते हैं, और उस जमाने में इट वाज नोन दैट 1 ounce मसलिन इज इक्वल टू 1 ounce गोल्ड, और 1 ounce मसलिन हम विदेशी बाजारों में बेचा करते थे और 1 ounce गोल्ड खरीदते थे। और हम इतने पैसे वाले हो गए थे, इतने धन हमारे पास इकट्ठे हो गए थे कि लोग हमारे यहां रॉबरी करने आते थे। ये तो इतिहास इस बात का गवाह है कि गरीबों के यहां डकैती नहीं पड़ती है, हमारे यहां पड़ी थी, इसलिए कि हम अमीर थे। अंग्रेजों ने उस चीज को देखा और हमारे ही रॉ मटेरियल्स को ले जा करके प्रोसेस करके हम ही लोगों को बेचने लगे। और जिस तरह के आज देश में एक क्लास उभर के आया है जिसको अंधभक्त कहते हैं, उस समय भी थे वो। उस समय भी अंग्रेजों के कपड़े पहन के वो फख्र महसूस किया करते थे, लेकिन वो थे कितने, बाकियों को तो कपड़े भी नहीं मिलते थे पहनने के लिए। तो गांधी ने उसके हिसाब से त्याग किया, और गांधी जी ने अपने लोगों को अपने पैरों पे खड़ा करने के लिए खादी ग्रामोद्योग की शुरुआत की। उनका कहना था कि अगर ग्रामोद्योग होगा तो लोग गांव छोड़ के नहीं जाएंगे, हमारा गांव बचेगा तो हमारी संस्कृति बचेगी। और आज जो कॉन्सेप्ट गांधी के थ्योरी के अगेंस्ट ओल्ड एज होम का इंडिया में डेवलप कर रहा है। अगर गांव बचा होता, ग्रामोद्योग बचा होता, तो ओल्ड एज होम न बनता देश में। ये गांधी का मैसेज था। और गांधी ने जो खादी ग्रामोद्योग की शुरुआत की, आप सोच नहीं सकते हैं, जब दिल्ली से बुलंदशहर जाना अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ा टास्क था, उस समय पूरे देश में चरखा, करघा और उसका रॉ मटेरियल और कोई मशीन नहीं, और हाथ से लोगों को, और मैं बता रहा हूं कि उस जमाने में लड़कियों को विदाई के साथ चरखे भी दिए जाते थे, क्योंकि वो बहुएं जब अपने घर जाएंगी तो किसी पे डिपेंडेंट नहीं रहेंगी और उस घर के इकोनॉमी में अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन देगी। सोचिए कितना बड़ा इकोनॉमी का थ्योरी था गांधी जी का, कितनी बड़ी प्रिंसिपल थे कि भाई लोगों को अपने पैरों पे खड़ा कर दे, और उन्होंने किया। आज मैं बता दूं गोयल साहब कि खादी ग्रामोद्योग का 1 लाख करोड़ का सेल है। ये हम जैसे लोगों के कंट्रीब्यूशन से नहीं है, उन महात्माओं के, गांधी और गांधी के जो ट्रू डिसिपल थे लोकनायक जयप्रकाश नारायण, गांधी जी के बाद उन्होंने इस खादी को आगे बढ़ाया, और उन लोगों के कंट्रीब्यूशन की वजह से ये 1 लाख करोड़ है। और आज स्थिति यह है कि हम अपने अच्छे समय में चाहे जितनी भी बात कॉर्पोरेट की कर लें, जब लॉकडाउन में कुछ भी नहीं दिखाई पड़ा तो हमारे निजाम को भी ये कहना पड़ा कि खादी को बढ़ाओ, और लोकल फॉर वोकल कहना पड़ा, क्योंकि वहां पर भी गांधी ही आए, उनसे हटके कुछ भी नहीं सोचा जा सकता है। और उस गांधी को हम लोगों ने, जिन्होंने अपनी पूरी जिंदगी एक अच्छे थॉट के साथ देश के लिए समर्पित कर दी, उनको हमने रिवार्ड में उस बिल्कुल बूढ़े से लड़खड़ाते आदमी को एक ही चीज दिया, बुलेट दिया। ये क्या है? ये उस समय के जो लोग थे, जो एक संस्था थी जो इस तरह के चीजों को बर्बाद करना चाहती थी, किसी एक युवा को बरगला करके और गांधी का असैसिनेशन करा दिया। लेकिन गांधी को मारा नहीं जा सकता है, क्योंकि गांधी की विचारधारा इतनी प्रबल है कि उसको कोई चैलेंज ही नहीं कर सकता। वो कभी भी इंडिया से खत्म नहीं हो सकता है। ये 2, 4, 10 साल की जो बात हम देख रहे हैं, ये भी कोशिश कर रहे हैं, और बिल्कुल एक अंधा आदमी और हाथी वाली कहानी हो रही है देश में, कि उनको कभी गांधी का पैर पकड़ रहे हैं, कभी पटेल का पैर पकड़ रहे हैं, कभी सुभाष चंद्र बोस का पैर पकड़ रहे हैं। अरे सब तो एक ही वृक्ष के टहनियां, पत्ते, फूल और जड़ थे, तो जड़ में तो गांधी ही थे मॉडर्न इंडिया के कंसेप्ट ऑफ इंडिया में, और बाकी सारे थे, उनको हटाया नहीं जा सकता है। तो गांधी जी ने जो देश के लिए किया है, और जो सिद्धांत उन्होंने हम लोगों के लिए बनाई, बताई, वो चीजें देश से दूर नहीं की जा सकती है, पूरी तरह से रिलेवेंट है, उसको कोई भी कभी भी चैलेंज नहीं कर सकता है। गांधी जी के बारे में चाहे हम कितना भी कुप्रचार कर लें, लोग आज गांधी जी को, नेहरू जी को, चूंकि बदनाम गांधी को करना है, नोट पर से उनका फोटो हटवाना है, इसलिए उनके साथ साथ नेहरू जी को भी बदनाम किया जा रहा है कि कश्मीर के लिए नेहरू जिम्मेवार थे। अरे मूर्खों, कश्मीर के लिए नेहरू जिम्मेवार नहीं थे, कश्मीर हमारा आज है इसलिए कि नेहरू थे। इस बात को बताना पड़ेगा लोगों को, लोगों तक पहुंचाना पड़ेगा हम लोगों को। मैं आपको सच में फिर से हृदय से धन्यवाद देता हूं कि आपने इस टॉपिक को छेड़ा, और आज आप इतने अच्छे लोगों को आपने इकट्ठा किया, और उसमें सारे लोगों ने अपनी बात रखी। मैं बता रहा हूं कि शांति से ही तब भी हम लोगों ने विजय प्राप्त की थी, और आज गांधी का थॉट इररिलेवेंट नहीं, रिलेवेंट है, इसलिए कि ये विविधताओं का देश है। इसमें हर 6 मील पर भाषा बदल जाती है। वहां जब तक शांति नहीं रहेगी, जब तक प्यार नहीं रहेगा, जब तक आपसी समझदारी नहीं रहेगी, तब तक हम देश को चला कैसे सकते हैं? ये तो सोचा भी नहीं जा सकता है। ये जो लोग काम कर रहे हैं, वो तो औरंगजेब वाला काम कर रहे हैं, वो थक जाएंगे, वो हार जाएंगे, खत्म हो जाएंगे। फिर से गांधी की थ्योरी ही काम करेगी, वही चलेगी इस देश में, दूसरा कुछ नहीं चल सकता है इस देश में। और गांधी अपने आप में एक इंसान थे। उनको हम बदनाम इसलिए भी करने की कोशिश करते हैं क्योंकि तीन तरह के लोग होते हैं। इंसान है जो गलती जिससे हो सकती है गलती करता है, भगवान जिससे गलती नहीं होती है, और तीसरा हैवान है जो गलती करता है। तो हैवान उस इंसान गांधी को बदनाम करने के लिए भगवान दिखाने की कोशिश करता है, जिसकी इच्छा है कि मैं खुद ही उसको बदनाम करके भगवान बन जाऊं। गांधी एक एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहे थे देश को आजाद करने के लिए। तो जब भी किसी भी चीज का एक्सपेरिमेंट होता है, हवाई जहाज का एक्सपेरिमेंट हो रहा था, कई जाने चली गई थी, लोग कूद के मर गए थे, तो उसमें गलतियां होती हैं। हम लोगों को आज उस गलती को नहीं देखना चाहिए, उनकी अच्छी चीजों को लेकर के देश को आगे बढ़ाना चाहिए। और यही मूल मंत्र है कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ इंडिया का, इंडिया को सक्षम रखने का। और मैं कहता हूं कि गांधी के बारे में कभी भी कोई इधर उधर की बातें हम लोगों को नहीं सोचनी चाहिए। पटेल साहब भी बहुत उनके बड़े समर्थक थे। सुभाष चंद्र बोस के बारे में, उनके इलेक्शन के बारे में जो लोग कुप्रचार करते हैं कि उनकी जीत हमारी जीत होगी, ऐसा नहीं है। जब आदमी एक ग्रुप में बैठता है तो मतों की भिन्नता होती है, लेकिन ग्रेट सुभाष चंद्र बोस ने कभी गांधी जी के बारे में कुछ भी इधर उधर की बात नहीं कही। और मैं बता रहा हूं कि जितने आजादी के दीवाने थे सब निपटा दिए गए थे, चाहे शहीद आजम थे, चाहे चंद्रशेखर आजाद थे, और लास्ट में 1985 में सुभाष चंद्र बोस जैसे 1945 में सुभाष चंद्र बोस जैसे कोहिनूर भी ब्रिटिशर्स ने निपटा दिया था। आजादी फिर किसने दिलवाई? महात्मा गांधी ने। मैं उनको सैल्यूट करता हूं। Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Verma, for giving your views, very, very strong views. And Mr. Verma said that the Gandhi was not only an ordinary person, he's a very intelligent, well qualified, international advocate with all means, but he wanted to see to it that the entire country to be unified, because according to Mr. Verma, earlier, all the kings and queens were fighting for their own their state, princely state existence, while Gandhi knew that if you will require a independence, we have to motivate and see to it that everyone should come forward. And as Professor Pathak has already mentioned, that when Gandhi came, the Congress was not in that position to do it. But Gandhi, according to Mr. Verma, understood, and that's why he join everybody. He said that everyone should come, and then they have started the civil movements with non-violent means, as well as to boycott and to do all the things. And one point which Mr. Verma has made very emphatically is, and it's correct also, that all those who were fighting for the country with different means and who were trying to take the independence through violence could not succeed. And because the mighty Britishers at that time were so strong, they never allow any of those our freedom fighters to succeed, whether it was Shahid Bhagat Singh or Chandrasekhar Azad, or even Rani Lakshmi Bai or Subhash Chandra Bose, etc. But he says Gandhi knew that by non-violence movement, by way the Britishers will agree to do it. And that's why the Gandhi's model or the philosophy is followed by all in the future. Even in Burma, we have seen how that Lady Sui has followed Gandhi's philosophy. And that's why they got all the freedoms. Otherwise, not at all possible to get the freedoms. Thank you very much, Mr. Verma, for giving your views. And one point which he has also raised about the Khadi, when I will come in the next round, definitely I will ask questions about the Khadi also. Thank you very much. Now, my question goes to Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak. Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, all the panelists spoke very highly about Gandhi. Everything is fine. But why the present government, with their actions or acts or their philosophy, they want to erase the memories and philosophy of Gandhi? And you know well, people are not speaking, but people are understanding. Now, my question to you is, an individual, if a person wants to criticize Gandhi, it is fine. he is having this, it's a democratic right. But if the democratically elected government of India wants to act in such a way that they will encourage in one way to erase the memory, is according to you, is going to give some dividend, or it will be very harmful for the country if we will try to erase the philosophy of Gandhi? Professor Pramod Pathak, please.
See, Mr. Goel, you have raised a very valid issue, that why the democratically elected government is trying to erase the memories of Gandhi. There's a very simple reason. This is nothing but dirty politics. In fact, one thing is very clear, and no matter how hard they try, I mean, those who are against Gandhi, or those who are the detractors of Gandhi, one thing is very certain, that as long as Gandhi's name will be there, Gandhi's name will always be linked with Congress, because Gandhi and Congress are what we call inseparable. Congress in the present form, what we see today, is due to Gandhi. So now, because, and their only threat, their only challenge is Congress. So naturally, if Gandhi is erased, Congress will be a sufferer. That is the game plan. And this will never succeed, because Gandhi is far beyond the reaches of such petty-mindedness, such small thinking people. And, I'll just like to add certain things, that, there are more than 250 cities in 70 countries where many major roads are named after Gandhi. In all 719 districts of our country, there are either schools, roads, buildings, or parks in the name of Gandhi. Some 70 cities have an MG road, Mahatma Gandhi Road. About 150 countries have issued 800 kinds of stamps on Gandhi. And interestingly, in 1969, commemorating his centenary, the British government issued a stamp on Gandhi. Before that, only the members of the royal family were given place on stamps. There have been 500 films, 45 films, and 500 documentaries made on Gandhi, and one also got an Oscar. And some 90,000 books have been written on Gandhi. So it's impossible to erase Gandhi, no matter how sincerely, how effectively, how strongly someone tries. But the only thing is that it is a game plan, because as long as Gandhi's name is there, Congress also cannot be eradicated. So, and the only threat to the present day dispensation is the Congress.
Okay, thank you, Professor Pathak. Now my question goes to Advocate Shashank Devsudhi. Advocate Shashank Devsudhi, you might have heard the speech on 23rd of January when our Honorable Prime Minister inaugurated the hologram of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. And he emphasizes one thing. He says that importance to Subhash Chandra Bose and Patel was not given by the leaders like Gandhi or Nehru. But no one, including our Honorable Prime Minister, is saying anything about the glorification of Godse, which is taking place nowadays. Hindu Mahasabha is organizing programs, and one lady who was not yet, I think whether she's booked or not, that Shakun in Haridwar hate speeches from Aligarh. She, in the last year, she has even tried to kill the Gandhi again by putting the portrait of Gandhi and striking with the sword, such type of acts. But no words were uttered by the Prime Minister, our Honorable Prime Minister. Why? I am asking you the question, why is it a party politics thing, or he also feels that Gandhi is not relevant, or Gandhi was against patriotism, nationalism, and Hinduism? What is your view, Advocate Shashank Devsudhi?
Mr. Goel, I would like to tell you one thing, that it is the Gandhi who had brought the democracy in our country. It is a Gandhi who had given the right to the political parties to represent or present their views. It is a Gandhi is the beginning of Indian democratic polity. Gandhi is a source through which all kind of institutional, democratic rights are being enjoyed by the common people. So Gandhi is, as I said earlier, is inseparable and inalienable personality. Gandhi is having a towering personality, and his views and philosophy is more towering. You know, as I have already stated that if we see the relevance of Gandhi and the relevance of the ideas of Gandhi in 21st century, it is important to acknowledge the fact that one cannot recall a person who has inspired the people across the religion, across the countries, and more than Mahatma Gandhi, great leaders like Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Frontier Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Vinoba Bhave, Martin Luther King, Maulana Azad, Dalai Lama, and the other, such persons reiterated the role of Gandhian ideas on the life. So far as Prime Minister is concerned, you have rightly, see, actually the Prime Minister is not representing views of the Indian people. The Prime Minister may be the elected leader of a particular party, and definitely as a democratic country, everyone has everyone has its own views. And we should appreciate also, of course, Gandhi was himself, leveled as an agent of capitalist, imperialist, Hindu communalist in disguise, an agent of Muslims, etc., etc. His ideas have been being described as obsolete, ideas, backward, rustic. It has been often said in this modern day, the world where there is a vulgar display of the wealth and materialism, the nations are madly running behind a power. There is a violence, hatred, xenophobia all around us. Gandhi ideas have no relevance. But the fact of the matter is that the Gandhi ideas is more relevant, and we are discussing is a symptomatic and representative of the fact that Gandhi ideas are still alive. After even the death of Gandhi, we are discussing. We are also on the edge and the verge of our time. But we are still discussing Gandhi. So Gandhi ideas cannot be eradicated by any person. You can criticize. I don't have any issue. You can say that the Gandhi has not done anything. How does it matter? It is so apparent. So as Mr. Pathak and Mr. Verma had, stated more than what is required. It was quite, clear, apparent that he is like a sun. I mean, you cannot darken, the philosophy of Gandhi. Philosophy of Gandhi is so strong that it can transform you. I mean, you cannot transform Gandhi philosophy, and that is what I understand about the Gandhi philosophy.
Okay. Thank you, Advocate Shashank. Now my question goes to Mr. Verma. Mr. Verma, Gandhi's philosophy was for the non-violent movement, and he succeeded in this. Recently, we have seen a very big movement, the Kisan movement, where they also use the same philosophy of non-violence. Although that movement was termed for Khalistani, terrorist, and whatnot, कि उसको बहुत कुछ नाम दिया प्रेजेंट गवर्नमेंट ने, और अल्टीमेटली हमने देखा कि किस तरह हमारे ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर को माफी मांगनी पड़ी पूरे देश से, और उन काले कानून, 3 कृषि काले कानूनों को वापस लेना पड़ा. क्या आपको लगता है कि ये जो मूवमेंट आया, आज हमारा, पहले गांधी जी का टाइम था जब हम गुलाम थे ब्रिटिश के, लेकिन आज ये हमारा देश है, स्वतंत्र देश है, क्या इस तरह के नॉन वायलेंस मूवमेंट की जरूरत पड़ती है? आज भी रेलेवेंस है और आगे भी रहेगी? क्योंकि अगर मूवमेंट वायलेंट होता है तो लोग बाग नहीं पसंद करते. तो आपका क्या व्यू है कि आज भी जो किसान मूवमेंट हुआ उसमें सक्सेस का राज गांधी जी की जो एक फिलॉसफी थी नॉन वायलेंस की, वो मेन रीजन था? मिस्टर वर्मा प्लीज.
सर, योर क्वेश्चन हैज आंसर इन इटसेल्फ. इट इज सेल्फ एक्सप्लेनेटरी. आज जिस बात पर हम चर्चा कर रहे हैं कि गांधी जी की फिलॉसफी रिलेवेंट है कि नहीं, ये तो विटनेस है ना किसान आंदोलन। अगर किसान आंदोलन जिसको प्रोवोक करने की भरसक प्रयास पूरे दमखम से प्रेजेंट गवर्नमेंट ने की कि ये वायलेंट हो जाए, उन लोगों ने धैर्य रखा। मैं थैंक्स देता हूं उनके सारे नेताओं को जिन लोगों ने शहादत के बाद भी अपना धीरज नहीं खोया और गांधी के रास्ते पे चलते रह गए। अल्टीमेटली उनको विजय प्राप्त हुई और सरकार को झुकना पड़ा। सरकार के झुकने में भी एक बात मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं, एक तरफ तो वो आंदोलन था जिसके कारण सरकार की आने वाले चुनाव में ऐसी स्थिति हो गई कि इन लोगों ने एसेस कर लिया कि ये हार चुके हैं, उत्तर प्रदेश लूज कर चुके हैं, और उसके बाद इन्होंने उस कानून को विड्रॉ किया है। क्योंकि जो हम लोग आज इस बात पर बैठे हैं ना कि गांधी की फिलॉसफी को समझने के लिए, गांधी के फिलॉसफी को समझाने के लिए इंडियंस की जरूरत नहीं है। इंडियन के तो नस नस में गांधी की फिलॉसफी है, ब्लड में गांधी की फिलॉसफी है, रोम रोम में गांधी की फिलॉसफी है। मैं तो आप लोगों से गुजारिश करूंगा कि प्रधानमंत्री के व्यूज को समझिए। ये जो जिन चीजों की बात आप लोग कर रहे हैं, जिन वायलेंस की बात कर रहे हैं, समझिए कि कहीं इसके सारे चीजों के किंग पिन वही तो नहीं है। और अगर नहीं है जी तो कुछ बोलते क्यों नहीं है?
चलिए ठीक है, आपने जवाब दे दिया आपकी बातों से।
सिंह की नृशंस हत्या पर जी कुछ बोला क्यों नहीं? क्यों उनके अपराधियों को माला पहनाया गया? तो मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि गांधी की जो फिलॉसफी है वो रिलेवेंट थी, है, इसीलिए किसान आंदोलन सक्सेसफुल हुआ।
जी जी, धन्यवाद। मेरा now my next question goes to Professor Pathak. Professor Pathak, we knew that Gandhi was the person who wanted the opposition leaders to be in the government, and he only wanted that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar should be the head of the committee for making the Constitution of India. Today, we are seeing that even the present government is not taking any opposition leader in confidence unless he is going to be against the particular party, then they can give the Padam Bhushan to that person. But the philosophy which Gandhi has adopted at that time for inclusiveness, and that's why we have seen how many of the opposition leader which are now the leaders of the ruling party were included in the cabinet. Don't you think that philosophy is still relevant in present time if such type of government where we will include the opposition leaders or those who really matters in the government so that the smooth functioning can take place? What is your view about this, Professor Pathak?
Very obvious. It's obviously clear because see, what Gandhi prescribed, what Gandhi suggested, inclusion of opposition leaders, that is the spirit of democracy. Democracy is not a one party or a one person rule. The government that is elected is on the basis of majority, but there is a minority also, and that minority is equally important. Democracy is not about people talking. Democracy is about government listening. Lord Ram, those people who often quote Lord Ram may like to do well to read Rama's life in Ramcharitmanas, that when one person raised an issue about the Lord Ram's wife, Lord Ram had to listen. That is democracy. That's the ultimate of democracy. And naturally, the people in the Congress party, they carried that spirit forward. Nehruji, in fact, was always very keen to include Ram Manohar Lohia in the parliament. And even Indira Gandhi had said Atal Bihari Vajpayee to that UN summit. So these people were Democrats. But what we are witnessing is that democracy is gradually being gagged. Democracy is not about one party rule. Democracy is about the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And those people comprise not only your supporters, your opponents also.
Okay, thank you very much, Pathak. Advocate Shashank Deo, my question to you is, Advocate Shashank, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please switch on your video.
Yes, sir.
We can't see you.
Okay, I'm just.
So,
Yes.
Advocate Shashank, my question to you is that one side we talk about
Yes.
nepotism in the family, that same family persons are coming and they are ruling. Other side, the blame on Mahatma Gandhi is that he has not cared for his family. One side nepotism, and other side we are saying Mahatma Gandhi has not cared his family. How might be great he is, but he is totally failure as a family man. What is your view?
See, what I personally feel that the Gandhi had cared for the entire communities, and it is self-representative of the fact that the Gandhi was of opinion that he is of the people, right? He is not of the one family, because he considered the entire community as a family. So his vision was quite broad based. His vision was not parochial. His vision was not narrow. Gandhi was, as I said, it was a big canvas. I'm telling you, every day the PhD are being done on Gandhi philosophy. I mean, every aspect of Gandhi cannot be understood in a 1 day or 2 day or in a year. Even I, who are practicing in the Supreme Court and High Court of the, Delhi and of India, are not aware of the Gandhi philosophy in entirety. Let me tell you very frankly. So I personally believe that there must be a topic, in every law colleges, and that the Gandhi philosophy must be taught. I am telling you, because law, what we are practicing, the law is absolutely bereft of the Gandhi compassion, the Gandhi humanism. The people are being being put behind bar without applicability of the principle of natural justice, which Gandhi had practiced, which Gandhi had advocated, which Gandhi had disseminated. So the Gandhi values and the core values has not been taken by the ruling party in this country. And therefore, what is happening is absolutely unacceptable. The philosophy of Gandhi must be made alive. And it is alive, no doubt about it. But yes, the Gandhi, because the government of the day is responsible to carry forward the torch of the torch of the truth, which Gandhi advocated, to the people of the country. So this is what I understand, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Advocate Shashank. मेरा आखिरी प्रश्न है वर्मा जी से। वर्मा जी, आपने बताया खादी मूवमेंट से आप जुड़े हुए हैं और खादी की आपने बात भी की। अभी हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने, आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने 1 साल पहले वोकल फॉर लोकल की बात की। तो आप ये क्या जो वोकल लोकल है, क्या ये एक पुरानी बॉटल को नया रैप करके दिया जा रहा है, या वास्तव में प्रधानमंत्री का जो आइडिया है वो प्रेरित है जो महात्मा गांधी की फिलॉसफी से था, लेकिन उसको अब चेंज करके एक नए रूप में लाके पेश किया जा रहा है? आपके इसके बारे में क्या विचार है?
देखिए, प्रधानमंत्री जी माननीय एक इंटेलिजेंट आदमी हैं और वो महात्मा गांधी के फिलॉसफी से प्रेरित ही है। जब उनको कुछ भी नहीं मिलता है तो महात्मा गांधी जी के पास पहुंच जाते हैं, कोई रास्ता नहीं मिलता है तो उनके पास पहुंच जाते हैं। जब कंप्लीट लॉकडाउन में उनको कुछ भी नहीं दिखाई पड़ा था तो उन्होंने देखा कि गांधी के रास्ते चलो, और जब कुछ रास्ता मिलने लगता है तो फिर गांधी को हर जगह से मिटाओ, ऐसी हिसाब किताब चलती है। खादी पूरी तरह से गांधी जी के बताए पद चिन्हों पे चल रही, बताए गाइडलाइंस के ऊपर चल रही है, और खादी अगर पूरी तरह से उसको जैसा गांधी जी चाहते थे उस रूप में अगर हम लोग खादी को कर दें तो मैं आपको बता रहा हूं कि देश में कोई भी बेरोजगार नहीं रहेगा। कोई भी मीन्स कोई भी, हर लेवल पर लोगों को रोजगार मिल जाएगा। इसी के लिए खादी और ग्राम उद्योग की उन्होंने स्थापना करी थी। और प्रधानमंत्री जी जो लोकल फॉर वोकल की बात करते हैं वो खादी ग्राम उद्योग ही है, और क्या है इसके अलावा। और कोई रास्ता जब नहीं मिलता है तो गांधी जी के पास चले आते हैं, जब रास्ता मिलता है तो फिर इधर उधर की बातें शुरू हो जाती है। लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री ऐसा नहीं है कि मूर्खतापूर्ण कोई हरकत करते हैं, बिल्कुल इंटेलिजेंट आदमी है और पूरे समझदारी से होशो हवास में जब जरूरत होता है गांधी का इस्तेमाल करते हैं, जब जरूरत नहीं होता है गांधी को साइड करने की कोशिश करते हैं।
जी, धन्यवाद वर्मा जी। सो व्यूअर्स, टुडे यू हैव सीन द वेरी वेरी forcibly or strongly views of our panelists, and they are very very clear. Gandhi's philosophy is relevant, It was relevant, it is relevant, and it will be relevant for years and years in years to come. And not only in India, all over the world. Because Gandhi stood for truth. Gandhi stood for non-violence. And once you have these two principles, even in your house, you will win. Although difficulties you will face, everyone has to face the difficulties, but ultimately you will be in one very peacefully. And that's what Gandhi has proved. And whatsoever happening today, that somebody is making a OTT film, how Gandhi was killed, or why I killed Gandhi, and whatnot, just to glorify a murderer. Is it correct in our society? Can we glorify Ravana? Can we glorify Kans? If we cannot glorify Ravana and Kans, how we can dare to glorify Godse in this country? So ultimately, it's a civil society which has to understand, and they must give this important lesson to the youth and the young generation that Gandhi's philosophy was relevant, is relevant, and will be relevant. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4NEWS, Karu News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, as well. It was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And in our endeavor to bring to you everyday new topic in media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Tomorrow, we are going to have a youth conclave in media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Youth conclave on organ donation. Yes, you have heard rightly. It is a youth conclave on organ donation, and it will be in association with a Hindustan Management Institute, Mathura. There 27 students are going to ask the question, and being a keynote speaker, I will be answering them. But the chief guest will be Mr. Dr. Naveen Gupta, Director, Hindustan Institute of Management and Computer Studies, HIMCS, Sharda Group of Institutions, Mathura, and Dr. Sheetal Sachdeva, Assistant Professor, HIMCS, Mathura, will be the program coordinator. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak. Thank you very much, Advocate Shashank Dev Sudhi, and thank you very much, Mr. Nirmal Hindu Vermaji. Thank you all, and thank you all the viewers for watching our show. And I'm sure today's day, although it's a very unfortunate day because Gandhi ji was killed, but it is a very, very important day because we all are following Gandhi in his real spirit. And I feel and I hope that all our viewers are quite enlightened with today's views, which all the panelists have given. Thank you very much. And thank you, viewers, for watching our show. Thank you very much.